Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. Colby wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, playing to tap Sacred Peaks. Ian's got a secluded courtyard, naming Dinosaur. Mika's turn has him playing a tapped Gruul Guildgate. Max draws and has a Swamp for turn. Colby plays a Swamp and then pays 2 for an Arcane Signet. Ian's just got a Mountain and ships it. Mika's turn has him playing Gruul Turf, bouncing his Guildgate back to hand. Max plays an untapped Castle Lochthwain and pays 2 for a Zulaport Cutthroat. Colby's got a Mountain, and this is enough for Terra now. Going to combat, he mills his top 2 cards and passes. Ian draws for turn, playing a Cavern of Souls and naming Dinosaur. He then pays 3 mana for Life Finds a Way and ships it. Mika's got a Mountain, and he casts Harrow. He sacrifices the Mountain to go and find 2 basics untapped, passing while searching. Max's turn has him dropping an Urborg for turn, and he casts Dark Ritual, making 3 black mana. He uses it and his 2 other lands to cast Gilded Lotus, and once the Lotus resolves, Max taps it to cast. As Sephiroth comes in, he sacrifices nothing, and swings the Cutthroat at Ian for 1. Colby's land for turn is a Rogue's Passage, and he then pays 2 for Fear of Missing Out. This has him discarding Solemn Simulacrum and drawing a card. Going to combat, Colby mills his 2 for Terra and swings her at Max for 3. With Terra connecting, Colby pays for Terra's trigger and brings back a Plaguecrafter from his graveyard. Max and Colby sacrifice a creature, with a Zulaport Cutthroat draining Max's opponents for 1 as it hits the yard, and Sephiroth draining Colby for 2. Ian and Mika discard a card since they can't sacrifice, and Colby passes. Ian's main phase has him playing a Forest and casting a Brainstone. He then activates the artifact to Brainstorm, and passes after he resolves the ability. Mika's main phase has him casting Tempt Discovery, which Max and Ian take him up on, while Colby is the voice of reason and says no. This has Mika grabbing Valakut, and a Glacial Chasm, plus another land, while Max finds Nykthos, and Ian finds City of Brass. Mika's turn then has him casting Armillary Sphere, since the Urborg on the field lets him tap his Chasm for mana. Max drops a Swamp for turn and pays 5 for Zodiark. This has Colby sacrificing the Fear of Missing Out, and getting drained with Sephiroth, and Zodiark gains a counter. Moving to combat, Max then swings Sephiroth at Ian, who takes the hit. Colby's main phase has him casting Demon's Disciple, and Zodiark gets ticked up once more as people sacrifice creatures. Going to combat, Terra mills Colby for 2, and Colby then swings her at Max. Before damage though, Max uses Withering Torment to take her out and loses 2. In Colby's second main phase, he casts Key to the City and passes. Ian takes 1 from the City of Brass as he casts Scion of Calamity. He then ships it after it resolves. Mika loses 2 on his upkeep to the Glacial Chasm, and then plays a Raminap Excavator. He plays a Forest from his graveyard as his land for turn, and passes. Max draws for turn, and activates the Castle Lochthwain to draw again, and loses 2 life. Combat has him swinging Zodiark at Colby, who takes the hit. Max then casts Sephiroth and passes. Colby's main phase has him casting Stitch Together, and having met the requirements for Threshold, is able to bring back his Plaguecrafter. The board sacrifices a creature again, which has Zodiark gaining more counters, and should have triggered Sephiroth, but unfortunately miss it. Colby then passes to Ian. Ian's turn has him playing Hulking Raptor, and he passes. During the end step, Mika cracks the Armillary Sphere to find 2 basics to hand, and we move to Mika's turn. Mika loses 4 in his upkeep to the Chasm, and then plays a Mountain for turn. he casts Sky Shroud Claim and Shortcuts, playing out Illusionist Bracers first, and then passing while searching for his lands. Max draws and activates the castle, losing some life to draw a card. He then plays a tap Myriad Landscape for turn, and casts a Pitiless Plunderer. Going to combat, he swings Zodiark at Colby. He passes after it connects. Colby looks at Max's graveyard, and then Ian's, and then Mika's. He finds 1-800-Flappin' in Ian's, casting a Reanimate to bring back Zatalpa, and drops to 5 life. Colby then casts a Palace Jailer, becoming the Monarch as it enters, and he gets to exile Zodiark. He goes to his end step, drawing from being the Monarch, and passes. Ian seems to be struggling on lands, but is able to cast Pantalaza using the mana that he got from the Hulking Raptor. He discovers into a Growing Rites of Itlamok, which in turn reveals a Territorial Allosaur, and he gets to put it to hand. Ian then swings the Hulking Raptor at Max, and passes. Mika's upkeep has him losing 6 to the Chasm, and then drawing for turn. He taps enough for Borborygmos, but Max counters him with a Withering Boon, losing 3 life to counter the creature spell. Mostly tapped out at this point, Mika has no choice but to pass. Max draws again and activates his castle, drawing a card and losing some life. He then plays an Ancient Tomb, taking 2 as he taps it to help cast Vincent Valentine. Once he's out, he follows up with a Fleshbag Marauder, and Ian and Colby sacrifice their creatures. This has Vincent gaining their power worth of +1/+1 counters as they hit the yard, plus Max also gains a treasure token. Going to combat, the Pitiless Plunderer goes at Colby, who blocks his Zatalpa. With the Plunderer hitting the graveyard, Max gains another treasure, and then passes turn. Colby starts his main phase off by mortifying Vincent, and then swings Zatalpa at Max, who takes the hit and drops to 11. Colby then passes, drawing from being the Monarch. Ian's main phase has him casting a Wrathful Raptors, discovering 5 thanks to Pantalaza as it enters. This has Ian hitting a Farseek and casts it, while Max decides to join him in finding some lands by cracking his Myriad Landscape. Ian passes while searching. Mika takes 8 from the Chasm, having dealt more to himself than anyone else this game, and he plays a basic for his land drop. He then taps enough for Borborygmos, who resolves, and he passes after that. Max has got a swamp, and he activates the castle, drawing another card and losing 1 life. He then brings back out Sephiroth, and puts to stack an Innocent Blood. With the spell in the stack, Mika activates Borborygmos, discarding Dark Depths to bolt Max's face. The table then sacrifices, with Max draining Mika for 3 with the Sephiroth triggers, and he passes to Colby. Colby's got a Plains and recast Terra. He goes to combat, milling 2. He then moves through his phases to his second main phase, and he casts a Selfless Spirit, passing and drawing from being the Monarch. Ian's turn has him casting Scroll Rack in his main phase, and then a Marauding Raptor. This has Ian discovering 3 as it enters, hitting a Sunfrill Imitator. The Raptor deals 2 to the Sunfrill as it enters, and with nothing else, Ian passes. Mika takes 10 this time from the Chasm and draws. He then taps enough for a hat-trick casting of Borborygmos and passes. Max plays a Swamp and casts Avenger of the Fallen. He then activates his castle, drawing 1 and losing 1. This has Max then casting the Saurian Voidborn and shipping the turn after that. Colby's got a Plains and then taps enough for Braid's Arisen Nightmare. He goes to combat, milling 2 for Terra's ability, and then swings Terra at Max, who takes the hit for 3. Colby then pays for Terra's on damage trigger, bringing back the Plaguecrafter again, and the table all sacrifice once more, with Max draining Colby with the Voidborn hitting the graveyard. Going to his end step, Colby then sacrifices Braids to her own ability. His opponents each decide to just take 2 and let him draw 3 cards, and we move to Ian's turn. Ian taps and chooses Violence, drawing for turn and playing a Soul Ring. He then loses 1 from City of Brass as he taps out for Gishath. As his commander comes in, he gets to discover, hitting Tribute to the World Tree. The Raptor also pings Gishath for 2 as it enters as well. Going to combat, Ian swings out at Colby. Colby blocks but gets still taken out, which has Ian becoming the Monarch, which in turn brings back Zodiark from exile. Ian needs only sacrifice 1 dinosaur to it, and Zodiark gets 1+1+ counter. Ian then begins to exile at the top to Gishath's ability, hitting surprisingly only 2 dinosaurs. He puts 2+1+ counters onto Kinjali's Sunwing as it comes in, and draws a card from the Trask entering. He then moves to his end step, transforming Growing Rites of Itlimoc into Itlimoc, Cradle of the Sun, plus drawing a card from being the Monarch. At this point around, Mika can't afford to keep the Chasm and has to sacrifice it. He draws for turn and plays a Forest. He then taps enough for Insurrection, stealing all of his opponent's creatures. He then counts it up, including the creatures in his own graveyard for the Avenger trigger, and is able to swing out for lethal on both Max and Ian, winning the game with their own creatures through combat. Game review time. That was so many Edict effects, my goodness. I am very excited to hopefully not see Fleshbag Marauder type effects for a long time. I think the MVP of this game was probably the Glacial Chasm, partly because it did the most damage to Mika, but also because it kept him safe. It allowed him to stave off some damage until he was able to use Insurrection, and I thought it was so fantastic that he had just enough creatures in his graveyard to do exactly lethal to Ian and Max in one swing. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.